European and American countries have tried to set up barriers by imposing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, thinking that this would limit the expansion of Chinese manufacturing. But unexpectedly, the expected effect was not achieved. Recently, Western media have noticed an interesting phenomenon. Brazil seems to have seized the opportunity of the Sino-US trade war and is rising rapidly. It may become a major global automobile production center and even an important force in the export of electric vehicles. After some investigation, I found that the biggest driving force behind it is the investment of Chinese automaker BYD in Brazil. BYD has invested $1.5 billion to build a large production-base complex that is about to go into production. The complex includes 3 factories with an estimated annual production capacity of 300,000 vehicles, covering the production of hybrid and pure electric vehicles, electric buses and truck chassis, and even involves the refining of lithium ore. It can be said that this is one of the most advanced and largest automobile manufacturing bases built by Chinese companies overseas. From this information, Brazil has undoubtedly become the biggest beneficiary in the game between China and the West. Some analysts have pointed out that China's electric vehicle market in the future will not only be limited to Brazil, but may further expand to the entire South America. So why are Chinese electric vehicles so prominent in the Brazilian market? How will Brazil become a global automobile export power in the future? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now let's get into today's topic. In 2022, China's exports of electric vehicles to Europe have exceeded 300,000, accounting for about 12% of the European market. By 2023, this number has almost doubled to 640,000, accounting for 40% of the entire market share. What is even more surprising is that these exported electric vehicles have brought China up to $20.4 billion in revenue, accounting for more than half of China's total revenue in the European market. However, with the rapid expansion of Chinese electric vehicles in Europe, the EU has also begun to feel obvious pressure. They are worried that if the technology and performance of Chinese electric vehicles continue to improve and consumers gradually recognize them, Europe's traditional fuel vehicle industry will face huge challenges. In order to protect the interests of local manufacturers, the EU announced in July 2023 that it would launch an anti-subsidy investigation on Chinese electric vehicles. The EU claims that the Chinese government has provided huge subsidies to local electric vehicle manufacturers, making the prices of these electric vehicles abnormally low in the European market, thereby distorting normal market competition. In response, some Chinese car companies have begun to slow down their investment in the European market. It is worth noting that while suspending investment in Europe, these companies have turned their funds and resources to the Southeast Asian market. According to my investigation, many Chinese car companies have plans to build new factories in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam in the next 2 years. Compared with the European market, Southeast Asia is obviously more attractive. For example, Malaysia, Thailand, and other countries have implemented a policy of exempting 100% of import taxes and consumption taxes on imported electric vehicles from China. This preferential treatment makes Chinese electric vehicles more easily accepted in the local market. What's more interesting is that after learning about the pressure faced by Chinese automakers in the European and American markets, Brazil and South America actively wooed Chinese automakers to invest in localization. In 2023, after taking office, Brazilian President Lula made it clear that the Southern Common Market should sign a free trade agreement with China to promote bilateral economic cooperation. In order to attract Chinese automakers to enter the Brazilian market, he personally met with BYD CEO last year and put forward very attractive investment conditions. The enthusiastic invitation of the Brazilian government and the potential of the local market have made some Chinese automakers decide to invest in Brazil, especially BYD. After announcing that it would build a factory in Brazil, Chinese new energy vehicles began to flood into the Brazilian market in large quantities, a phenomenon that even attracted the attention of the US and Western media. So, what is going on? In July 2023, at the invitation of the Brazilian government, BYD announced that it would build a large production base complex in Bahia. The base includes 3 factories with a total investment of $500 million initially set, and is scheduled to be put into production before the end of the year. By March 2024, BYD decided to make additional investments and increase the budget to $910 million. According to the plan, BYD paid about $58 million to the Brazilian government to purchase a total area of 4.6 million square meters of land. It is worth mentioning that part of this land is located at the site of the former Ford Brazil plant, and some of the original facilities will be handed over to suppliers for use, mainly for the production of new car parts. BYD's investment project is one of the most advanced and largest automobile manufacturing bases built by Chinese companies overseas. The entire complex will include a new energy passenger vehicle production plant, a plant dedicated to the production of electric bus and truck chassis, and a plant dedicated to processing lithium iron phosphate battery materials. The initial new energy passenger vehicle production line is designed to have an annual production capacity of 150,000 vehicles, covering pure electric and plug-in hybrid models. According to statistics from the Brazilian government, if BYD's plant is fully put into production, the annual production capacity may reach 300,000 vehicles. Not only that, by 2025, the project is expected to create about 10,000 jobs for the local area, and this number is expected to double in 2026. In order to further promote the entry of Chinese cars into the Brazilian market, the Brazilian government decided to restore the previous 25% import tariff rate on new energy vehicles, covering pure electric, plug-in hybrid, and hybrid new energy vehicles. Despite this, the Brazilian government's favorable conditions for Chinese electric vehicles still bring huge opportunities to Chinese automakers. In Brazil's electric and hybrid vehicle market, the market share of Chinese brands has jumped from 8% in 2022 to 30% this year, a significant increase. According to statistics from January to April this year, China's total exports of new energy vehicles to Brazil have reached 85,000 units, which is less than 3,000 units away from Belgium, which ranks first in exports. At the same time, China's exports of passenger cars to Brazil increased by 372.4% to $762 million, setting a record high. According to data released by China Customs, in May this year, China's exports of pure electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles to Brazil increased by nearly 12 times year-on-year to 40,163 vehicles. This outstanding performance has enabled Brazil to surpass Belgium for the second consecutive month and become the largest market for China's new energy vehicle exports. Not long ago, the Brazilian Electric Vehicle Association released sales data for new energy vehicles in the first half of this year, among which China's new energy vehicle sales reached 62,613 units, accounting for 91.4% of the total sales of new energy vehicles imported into Brazil. In addition, data from the Brazilian Automobile Association showed that in 2024, Brazil's total sales of pure electric, plug-in hybrid, and mild hybrid models increased by 89% to about 94,000 units, setting a record high. In the top 5 list of new energy vehicle sales, China's BYD, Chery, and Great Wall successfully occupied 3 seats. Surprisingly, in 2023, Brazil was only China's 10th largest export market, but just a few months later, it became China's largest exporter of new energy vehicles. This dramatic change has shaken the global market and exceeded the expectations of many Western countries. Recently, Western media reported that in the Brazilian market, 90% of imported electric vehicles come from China. Brazil is cleverly taking advantage of the game between China and Western countries and gradually becoming a strong competitor in the global electric vehicle manufacturing power. In fact, BYD entered the Brazilian market as early as 2014. In addition to selling zero-emission electric forklifts, vans, trucks, and passenger cars, BYD has established 3 factories in Brazil. In 2015, BYD established its first electric bus chassis factory in Campinas, São Paulo State, Brazil, and in 2017 it established a solar panel factory. In 2020, it established a lithium iron phosphate battery factory in Manaus, Amazon River State. The new factory in Brazil will be BYD's first complete vehicle factory in Brazil. According to the latest news, the Brazilian government has announced that the factory invested and built by BYD in Brazil will be officially put into production in March 2025, specializing in the production of electric vehicles. Once this integrated automobile factory is put into operation, BYD will establish a complete supply chain system in Brazil. In fact, Brazil has always had independent car manufacturing capabilities, but due to the lack of advanced manufacturing facilities, the development of the automobile industry has not been accelerated. BYD's entry has brought advanced technology and production capabilities, which not only helped to improve the level of automobile manufacturing in Brazil, but also activated the local automobile supply chain. With the establishment of BYD, Brazilian part suppliers have improved and expanded around BYD's production standards and are developing rapidly in many fields, from the supply of battery raw materials to the manufacture of interior accessories. With the layout of Chinese companies such as BYD in Brazil, Chinese electric vehicles are expected to take Brazil as a bridgehead and become the core of the entire South American new energy vehicle industry. In the future, electric vehicles manufactured jointly will not only meet the needs of the Brazilian market, but can also be exported to neighboring countries such as Chile and Argentina, further building a green transportation network in South America. It is worth mentioning that Western media also specifically mentioned that Brazil seized the opportunity in the Sino-US trade war and successfully built itself into a world powerhouse in food production. A key factor is that while China exports electric vehicles to Brazil, it also imports a large amount of soybeans and other agricultural products from Brazil. As we all know, China significantly reduced the amount of soybeans imported from the United States some time ago, which directly led to a significant decline in the competitiveness of U.S. soybeans in the international market. According to survey data, U.S. agricultural exports lost more than $27 billion as a result, of which China accounted for more than 95% of the loss. At the same time, China's soybean import pattern has undergone significant changes. The United States is no longer China's main soybean supplier. Now, Brazil has become China's largest soybean supplier. Data show that about 3/4 of the soybeans imported by China come from Brazil, which is more than 3 times the amount of soybeans exported to China by the United States. Specifically, in 2024, China's share of soybean imports from the United States has dropped from 40% in 2016 to 18%, while Brazil's share has increased from 46% to 76%. That year, China's total soybean imports from Brazil reached 6.96 million tons, a year-on-year surge of 211%, accounting for 53% of China's total soybean imports. It can be said that the trade cooperation between China and Pakistan has formed a very mutually beneficial model. To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.